So what do you think would be the most important initiatives for small businesses with this administration or with the change that everybody says is coming with Congress next week?
We'll have to go further in depth on that.
There's a lot of people think that the Republicans are going to get back a lot of seats, and that's not just because Republican funding is good because it's not in comparison to Democratic funding, but because of outside funding, which is really intriguing. And with that, what do you hope the shift produces in this next election?
Well, you hope for obviously a shift in the Republican Party to increase their seats in Congress and the House, so that your views kind of get pushed forward.
Which views of the Republican Party do you think are most important for that particular shift?
I don't know. I don't keep up with the news pretty well.
Okay.
I'm a horrible candidate for this conversation.
It's all right. It's all right. Everybody understand what I was trying to do? What am I trying to do?
Make it awkward.
Sir?
Make it awkward.
Say it again?
Explain himself.
Make it awkward. No, actually just the opposite. Just the opposite. What is my job as a speaker?
Understand my background.
To understand your background, to really hear. And what's funny is, if you're doing a really great job of speaker, as listener, when you're doing this, and this especially is true in marriage where we also teach the skill, what'll happen is if you're doing a really good job as a listener, and the other person says, yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say, you'll think, okay, she's going to think I agree with her. But that's not the objective. The objective is for this person to say, yes, you heard me. Everybody here? Okay. Why is that such an important task in teams? Yes.
Because it's easy if the listener doesn't hear or understand what the speaker is trying to communicate, then that can create unnecessary conflict.
And unnecessary conflict ripples over into relationships and confusion in those relationships, or just plain old everyday friction in the relationships. True? Gossip, all the rest of that fun stuff that you do around the water cooler. What else is true about why it's important that the person believes that you've been heard?
So they feel safe.
Ma'am?
So they feel safe.
They feel safe. Especially when you're really doing creative abrasion. Okay? You want everybody. How many of you have sat and watched people do presentations in a class, and you could kind of guess how many of them were introverts and absolutely scared spitless? Right? Okay. If that person is your blue person and they've done the best research of anybody else on your team and you shut them down, what have you just done? Congratulations, you now have a complete blind spot for your preparation for your presentation. And the best team member is shut off to do the contributions for how they're going to come back in with the rest of the team. Everybody here? So when you're doing creative abrasion, more than anything else, you have to make sure that that person who's an introvert or insecure or not really thrilled about social interaction isn't turned off, so that you have their input and you have their ability to contribute to what you hope is the best thinking presentation in the class, because a freaking large amount of my grade depends on that creativity. Okay? Okay. Let's go with another point. Okay? Let's pick any of the two pieces of the bullet points that you want to disagree about.
Disagree about?
Yeah. You just take it for granted, I believe the opposite.
Would it be more fun for me to disagree with what I agree with, or with something?
That'd be fun for you.
All right, let's do 4 and 5.
You launch it. You launch it. Because I'm taking the opposite side.
Well, don't you want to know what they are? Or
You'll tell me as you discuss this. By the way, thanks for being here.
Well, I'm always a guinea pig.
It's really true.
I'm just going to read right off here just so we get it out on the table. Based on realization that friction, disagreement, conflict, and dialogue are not harmful or to be minimized. I think, I'll go with what I think. I think it's great because you know, you got friction and disagreement, so if you create dialogue off that, you are generating something new by going back and forth. You're hearing both the other person's ideas and your own, so you kind of get both sides of the party, and you can maybe come together and bring those into one point.
What I hear you saying is that if dialogue is working, then you're really hearing both viewpoints. And if you're hearing both viewpoints, then you have a way to relate those and construct something new or different
Connect more dots.
out of that.
Correct.
Okay. Now then, did I use his words?
No.
Did I use as many words? It doesn't matter. What is important is he said that's what he said. Everybody here? That's what you have to do. Do another one so we can practice.
For creative version or for
Yeah,
ground
anything
rules?
else.
Under ground rules, it says it should remain never personal. This is, I think, something that I know you agree with, but I don't think you should ever really attack the other person or really ever get down to a personal level. It's about the ideas that you're talking about and the conflict at point.
What I hear you say is that it should never be personal, and it should be the point about which we're conflicting at this particular place. How easy is that?
I mean, if you're only talking about the actual idea, it shouldn't be that hard not to attack another person.
Just out of a guess, I'm guessing that you produce enough testosterone to be a little competitive.
I can be very competitive.
I think so. So how do you keep that competitiveness from making it personal?
Self-control.
Tell me the two most important pieces of self-control for you when you're looking at this.
Discipline and staying on focus on the topic at hand.
Take a look at what I just did. What I just did.
Have him expound on it.
Sir?
You should just have him further explain himself.
I had him further explain himself,
The reasons why.
but something changed in the conversation. What changed?
It became less combative.
It became less combative. Were we discussing what was on the page
Not anymore.
with my last exchange? Not at all. Not at all. I was talking about him and his personality and his character, and he was in the process of going in and sharing that. Did you feel awkward or uncomfortable while we were doing that? This is what you're after. Safety says, I am not self-conscious in this place, but you and I are really talking. I believe that whatever is happening here, you really do want to hear me. Now, I can disagree with you all day long, okay? But even if I disagree, what I want to hear is that, by the way, how did I vote in the last election?
Republican.
You can just kiss him for fun now.
Yeah.
I bet you.
Was that right?
What is fun is that this works so that you're able to go other places, and the person who is the best listener can take the group other places that need a little grist, a little sanding, a little refining. Do you understand? In other words, you may not have been the leader when everybody sat down because the person with the most testosterone may have said, "Hi, I'm the leader." Okay? But what happens is, if you're the best listener, at the place where conflict comes in, people will watch you and look to you for cues and trust that you can take the conversation where it needs to go safely next. Everybody here? See how intriguing this is? Okay? I just want to tell you personally that I've taught this, and sometimes I'm a complete jackass, and because of that, there were places where I was going through a transition from about 6 years up until about 4 years ago, and during that transition I was a complete ass to my wife on a repeated basis, and I can tell you that it was on an October night at 10 o'clock 3.5 years ago when we were walking in Orion straight overhead, and it was really nice and cold and all the rest of that good stuff, and our conversation shifted, and she started talking to me safe to safe in ways that she had not talked to me, really heart to heart, in places where she just wanted to go anywhere she wanted to go in about 3.5 years. Everybody understand? You may know this, and if you don't do this, somebody else is paying. Okay? And what I want you to have is not just to have this for teamwork, but to have this in your most important relationships and the rest of that. Let me give you another tool so that you can do this. It's called XYZ. This is really simple. It's not written down on your page, but you can write it down and remember it easily. When you did X in situation Y, I felt Z. when you did X in situation Y, I felt Z. Here's what happens in creative abrasion when it starts to fart all over itself and it's not working. Somebody will do something like you're always trying to take control. You know, you were just so, I mean, it's your opinion and nobody else's. Is that people globalize, people, you know, extrapolate from a few instances of behavior, say this is the way you always are, true? Okay? What XYZ does, because when you say you always try to take control, if you say that to me, what am I going to think of immediately?
That you're a dictator.
Huh?
That they're threatening.
The places where I didn't, so you're an idiot, you're obviously not right. Okay? So what you have to do is you have to say, this was the behavior at this particular time, and I felt this. Now that diffuses the conversation in three different ways. One, it says, this was the place, this was the time, this was the behavior. So we're talking about a very specific thing. If you say to me, you're always bossy, how am I going to change that? You know, I'm going to look at all my relationships and say, well, not so much here, maybe not there. But I still don't have any idea of what the behavior was that triggered your comment. Okay? In order to put that off the table for the team so that we can do the other work that we need to do that may be tough, and this is an amazing thing. I was practicing this morning. I'm talking to two men who are working as consultants to help us build a business. They're in Vermont. Skype is down for them and for my teammate in Tampa. So we're all doing just auditory, okay? And while we're doing auditory, they said about the name change for the corporation. And it's been a sticky point for 2.5 weeks where nobody talks. But I knew how my partner felt, and I was able to speak on his behalf, even though he wasn't on the conference for this part. And I said, I just want you to know that we have a lot of emotional investment in that title, because while we've been working over the last 9 months to birth this corporation, part of that birthing process was the title and the name for the corporation, and we liked it. And it was fun, and we agreed on it. It was part of the bonding for us during the process. So for me to turn around and take that amount of emotional energy and do it again when we have all these other fires to put out and all these other things to work over, I'm having a really hard time getting excited about doing that. Out of the top 100 things we need to do, I wouldn't put it in the top 100. And I just want you guys to know that's where I am. Silence. Thank you. That's very clear to us. We'll shelve that over here. There may be a place where you would take the part of your title that you like and put oil, recovery, or oil development, or some other pieces in there so that people can see what we're doing, but we like what you guys have. I said, thank you. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. In other words, the longer you work at this discipline, the better that you are at communicating which part of yours is emotional, which part of yours is business, which part of yours is creative, which part of yours is flunking the relationship. Everybody see? How you do that with XYZ helps you separate out pieces. I may need to do XYZ in front of the group. I may need to do XYZ at the cooler. Okay? But here's where XYZ is super important if you're working in teams, especially if you're doing creative abrasion, especially if you just slammed into each other in the session. I just want you to know that irrespective of what happened in the conversation we just had, I have always been intrigued with and admired your ability to step out when everybody else is a little bit afraid. It doesn't matter if it's on the ITLE stage, it doesn't matter if it's in class, it doesn't matter even if you're with Stamp and you might be wrong. I've always admired the fact that you're willing to step out and say, I'm not afraid to learn from everybody. And that is going to take you a long way in business. What did I just do?
Complimenting.
I complimented him, but what did I do about the compliment that really made a difference for him? Ma'am? I empowered him, but what did I do? I used XYZ. How did I use it?
You explained it for me.
I cited 3 places where I based that assessment of who and what he is. All 3 of those are specific places where I've watched him work. Everybody here? Again, especially if you're tasked with managing and leading a team, that skill also says to them, okay, if I lock horns with you and we're really after something, it isn't like winning and losing. You know who I am, you encourage who I am. Everybody see? That's all I got. Interesting, intriguing, helpful?
Like,
Okay.